All right, let's get right into it. We are going way, way back to the very beginning of Western literature to talk about the two poets who pretty much invented it, Homer and Hesiod.
Think for a second about the biggest questions we all face in life. How to be brave when you're scared, how to handle loss, how to just find your way through a complicated world and get back home. These questions are absolutely timeless. And for the ancient Greeks, the instruction manual for all of that wasn't some self-help book. It was poetry. Specifically, the epic poems from Homer and the practical wisdom from another poet named Hesiod.
And look, I'm not exaggerating when I say these poems were the absolute bedrock of their entire world. They weren't just stories people told, they were, in a very real way, kind of like the Bible for their whole culture. Homer's influence was just total. Young boys literally memorized his epics in school. Generals would quote lines from them in the middle of a battle. Great philosophers like Plato and Aristotle basically built their careers arguing with his ideas. And here's the kicker. Alexander the Great, one of the greatest conquerors in all of history, supposedly slept with a copy of the Iliad right under his pillow. That tells you just how fundamental this stuff was. Now, what's so fascinating here is that the Greeks had two completely different models for how to live, coming from these two different poets. So on one hand, you've got Homer. He's writing for the nobles, the aristocrats. His world is all about larger-than-life heroes, huge wars, and this relentless pursuit of glory. But then, just a generation or so later, you get Hesiod, and he's writing about the daily grind, farming, hard work, the struggle for justice. It's the worldview of the common person. So let's start with Homer's world. To really get the Homeric hero, you have to understand one single crucial word, kleos. It means glory or fame, the kind of reputation that makes your name live forever. And the stage for that glory is set in his two masterpieces, the Iliad and the Odyssey. The entire Iliad, this massive epic about the Trojan War, kicks off with one single powerful emotion, rage. Not patriotism, not fighting for freedom, but the personal, destructive anger of one guy, the great warrior Achilles. This one line tells you everything you need to know about what this poem is really about. And his rage has catastrophic consequences. His commander, Agamemnon, publicly insults his honor, so Achilles just quits. He withdraws from the war, and because of that, the Greeks start getting absolutely slaughtered. Tragically, this leads to the death of his best friend Patroclus, which sends Achilles into this grief-fueled rampage. He only returns to battle for one reason: personal revenge. But here's where Homer's genius really shines, because it's not that simple. After Achilles kills the great Trojan hero Hector, Hector's old father, King Priam, sneaks into the enemy camp all by himself to beg for his son's body back. And in this just incredible scene, he doesn't threaten Achilles. He just says, "Think of your own father." And right there, in that moment, these two sworn enemies, the killer and the father of the man he killed, they weep together. They find this common humanity in their shared grief. Now let's jump over to Homer's other epic, the Odyssey. Because here, we meet a totally different kind of hero. He's not the strongest guy on the battlefield. He's the smartest. He is the ultimate survivor, Odysseus. Probably one of the most famous stories is when Odysseus and his men get trapped in a cave by a cyclops, a one-eyed giant who, starts eating them. Brute force is totally useless here. He has to outthink the monster. So Odysseus comes up with this genius plan. He gets the giant some really strong wine, and when the sleepy giant asks what his name is, Odysseus gives him a brilliant lie. He says, "My name is No Man," as in nobody. The Cyclops, not being the sharpest guy, completely buys it. So after the giant is good and drunk, Odysseus and his men take a huge sharpened stake and drive it right into his single eye, blinding him. The Cyclops roars in pain, and all his giant buddies next door rush over to see what's wrong. And he screams back, "No man is hurting me. No man is killing me." And his friends just kind of shrug and go back to bed. And just like that, Odysseus and his men escape. It's the perfect example of how much the Greeks admired cleverness, resourcefulness, over just pure strength. But okay, that's all well and good if you're a king or a great warrior sailing the seas. What if you're just a farmer, trying to make a living? For that world, we have to turn to our second poet, Hesiod, and his focus on hard work and justice. And this could not be more different from Homer. Hesiod's most famous poem, Works and Days, isn't some grand epic adventure. It's basically a long instructional complaint letter to his own brother Perses, who had bribed some local judges to cheat Hesiod out of his piece of the family farm. It's so grounded, so personal, and it's all about fairness. Hesiod sees the world with a farmer's pessimism. He lays out this whole history of humanity's decline through what he calls the 5 ages. So we started in a perfect golden age. Then things got worse with the Silver and Bronze ages. He even slots Homer's heroes into the 4th age, the heroic age. But his own time? He calls it the Iron Age, the absolute worst of all. And just listen to how he describes it. He says the people of his time never rest from labor and sorrow by day and from perishing by night. I mean, for Hesiod, life isn't about glory. It's about enduring hardship and just trying to be a decent person in a corrupt world. So, what are we supposed to do with these two completely different visions of the world? The hero chasing glory versus the farmer seeking justice? Well, the Greeks didn't choose one over the other. They lived with both. And this contrast really shows you the two poles of the Greek soul. The Homeric ideal, that's the aristocratic warrior. The highest virtue is glory, kleos. The model is Achilles, the great hero, and its legacy is the power of the heroic individual. But the Hesiodic ideal is for the average citizen. Its highest virtue is justice and honest work. The model is just the fair-minded neighbor, and its legacy is the very foundation of democratic values. So here's the real takeaway. The Greeks understood that a healthy society actually needs both. It needs those extraordinary individuals who push all the limits, but it also desperately needs a foundation of fairness, community, and justice for everybody else. And this tension, this constant dialogue between the exceptional hero and the just society, that is one of their most powerful and lasting gifts to all of us. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In our own world, right now, which voice do you think is winning out? Are we more obsessed with the individual hero chasing fame and glory, or are we more focused on that quiet, steady work of building a just and fair community for everyone? The Greeks were asking that same question 2,700 years ago, and we're all still trying to figure out the answer.